This is the NFL Draft Report on 101 ESPN, featuring Tony Softli and Howard Balzer.
Time for another draft video on 101sports.com. I'm Howard Balzer, and Tony Softli is with me. And Tony, today, you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about liars. Or should we call it liar's poker? One of the two. I want to give a little quote first before we get into this interesting subject, and it comes from Chan Gailey, the coach of the Buffalo Bills, who did a little chat on the team's website earlier this week and said, "Don't be surprised if every player we take in the draft is a defensive player." Then he followed that up by saying, "It's not a sin to tell a lie pre-draft. Everybody does it. It's accepted. So everything you hear or read or see, you need to keep in mind that about 10% of it is the truth." Now, the one part about that I like is even stuff you see. Well, if you see something and it's a lie, that's a little confusing. But we get the gist of what he's saying. And maybe 10% isn't a value, is an exaggeration, but we all know that agents, teams, everybody puts stuff out there at this time of the year that who knows if it's true or not.
Well, let's start off with the teams first. I mean, you'll get general managers going one way, coaches going another way. You'll have scouts going to see certain players. There's a strategic way that people plan on who they're going to see, where they're going to see them. Then they might get together and have a private workout. As far as agents go, yeah, they're trying to kill the other agents' players and push them down. They're putting out bad information. There's just a lot of things going on. I would agree with Coach Gailey on a lot of that. 10%, probably a little bit higher than that, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of smokescreen stuff going on this time of year, and you know what? We're just starting to see it now with, you know, the Patrick Peterson, what's going on down at Auburn. So things are starting to come out a little bit.
And of course, this is the time of year as we head towards the draft, less than 4 weeks away, where players will visit teams, and that stuff is as much of a smokescreen as anything. Sometimes teams will bring in a player just to make other teams think they're looking at him, whereas a guy they're really interested in, they won't bring in. So it's kind of crazy. But one aspect of this I want to get to is when teams try to find out as much information about a player. We've had a burgeoning controversy this week about Cam Newton, things that were written in a draft book from Pro Football Weekly. Now we have people saying, no, that's not right. Auburn coaches saying, no, he's a great leader. What Nolan Naraki wrote is totally crazy. You were in the position. You wrote the other day, the people you talked to at Auburn vouch for his leadership. How do you know? How do teams know when they're talking to the people from the school that the player went to that they're telling the truth? Because they don't want to talk bad about their guy, because if that gets out, then other players go in there and say, I don't want to go there. They're going to talk bad about me maybe when I'm going to the draft.
Well, you know, it's all about sources. You know, you have to make sure that you have a source, and it's building that honesty and that confidence within your source over, not just for 1 year, but over several years. I've known several guys on that staff for over 10, 15 years now, even when I coached back at the University of Washington. So I'm very comfortable with those guys. And when they tell me there's some immaturity with Cam, I believe it because you can see it sometimes. But when they tell me he's a leader, he can lead 53 men. When the situation came up with his father, he went straight to the team and said, hey, this is the deal. This is what's coming down. I don't want it to be a distraction. Let's just make sure that we stay focused on what we have to do in winning a national championship. And when I heard that from two different sources, I believe what was said. And you know what? I feel good about putting that in print.
I'll tell you a great story. I'll never forget this. It's the 2006 draft. Scott Linehan is in his first year as the Rams head coach, and the Rams select Claude Roten in the 3rd round of the draft, a guy that I don't know if every team, it's probably unfair to say every team, but a lot of teams had do not draft in capital letters and red letters on their draft board, had been arrested in January for possession of marijuana, failed a drug test at the Combine a month after his arrest. And after the Rams took him with an early pick in the 3rd round, Scott Linehan told the media, well, I spoke to the people at LSU. I spoke to Nick Saban. They vouched for Claude Roten's character. There you go. Obviously, that wasn't very trustworthy, what they were told. And like you said, you have to feel you can trust those people because I guess sometimes you never know what you're really getting. You know,
Claude Roten's character might have been good up until that arrest, but I'll guarantee you there were some things going on behind the scenes. I don't think the Rams got the true picture of what was going on. And then when he was arrested with the marijuana in his car plus the cash, there's a big red flag, and it's waving in the wind, and it's saying, do not draft this guy. And I was at Carolina as a college director, we put him immediately on the do not draft board, and then it was validated when he went to the combine and tested positive. So you know what? It's a situation again where you've got to trust your sources. You got to know these people over time, not just in a one setting situation, and feel good about what they're telling you. But you've really got to know your sources.
Suspended twice by the Rams, and now where is Claude Roten? Out of football.
Somewhere.
So that's the cautionary tale for a lot of people as they get ready for this draft on April 28th. I'm Howard Balzer. Tony Softli. Another draft report is history, but you can see it here. You can read us on 101sports.com. Here's on 101 ESPN.